Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 22 career mode, and today we're here for the 12th round of our MotoGP season at the Catalan Grand Prix. Now, if you didn't see the last episode of the Austrian Grand Prix, I do recommend you go check that one out first before you do get into this one, because it was a pretty good episode, very up and down for myself. We qualified badly, got a great start, Bagnaia crashed out the lead once again. That's 3 races in a row that Bagnaia has crashed out of now, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Then a couple of laps later, Marco Bezzecchi makes a similar mistake but wipes me out as well, which of course completely ruined our race because we were down on the deck, and then when we got back on we were missing a wing, so we had absolutely zero pace. So we did close up the championship quite a bit, so in this round we really do need to try and strike back, and to be honest, I don't know what our performance is going to be like. I guess we're going into every round feeling that way at this point because the season has been so random and unpredictable, but generally, obviously, Catalunya is a track I know very, very well. In the previous seasons, I think we've had quite poor performance here, but I think in Moto 3, I believe we made a mistake towards the end of the race, which cost us a win there. Moto 2, I actually have zero recollection of that race, I can't lie. I don't know what happened in it. Maybe I should have gone and watched the video before we got into this one, but even still, I have no idea what actually happened in the race. But I do seem to remember that the tyre wear does kick in for the AI towards the end. That's something that does definitely happen, especially in the MotoGP class. So it could be quite interesting. It might be a race where we sort of come at the AI a little bit at the end, although in fairness in this game, it's usually the other way around. They usually get faster as the race goes on. Without any further ado then, let's head into the weekend, and I'll see you after free practice to see what the pace is like. So at the end of free practice then, you can see we're actually in second position here. Marco Bezzecchi just topped the session, 44 thousandths ahead of me, with Bagnaia in third position. Us three have got quite a big gap over the rest of the field, so it does seem like the pace is definitely there this weekend for me. I did actually check their FP1 and 2 times before going into this session this time, and a 38.9 was literally the fastest lap of the weekend, so we're pretty much on par with the two leaders, Bagnaia and Bezzecchi, so far this weekend. So we should go straight through into qualifying 2, but I am quite curious to see where Marc Marquez, who is now our main championship rival, has ended up. Where is he? Standing 22nd place. That's clearly a glitch time because he's 3.8 off. You do get that with the AI sometimes. It's very strange. They randomly have sessions where they're absolutely miles off. I think we had it with Bagnaia in one of the earlier weekends as well. But in terms of the other rivals, you can see Jack Miller's 7th and Air Bastianini is 6th. So those two look like they're definitely going through to Q2, but Marquez probably will as well. So without any further ado, let's head into qualifying now, and we should be straight through to Q2. I must say, it is quite nice to not have to go through Q1. First time in quite a few rounds that we've not had to, so I'll absolutely take that one then. You can see coming through Q1 though, we had Luca Marini and Miguel Oliveira, so you can see Marc Marquez is not in this session at all, so the unlikely championship rival in this season is struggling once again at this round, which is to be expected. I kind of expected that he would be struggling this year, but he's had a couple of really good rounds and it's really thrust him into contention. So I guess we've got to watch out for, well, just Bastianini, because Miller's not in here either. So my two closest championship rivals are not in Q2, so we've got to try and get pole position here and make the most where they're lacking points. Well, I say they're lacking points. They could easily get through. We saw what happened with the two Yamahas last week at the Austrian... Well, not last week, last race at the Austrian Grand Prix. They did very, very well. We are being recommended medium... In fact, we're being recommended the hard for qualifying. I think I will go softs for now. It might do a lap. It is Catalunya, so it's very, very hot and very abrasive. So we might have to abort that strategy and go to mediums. But I'm definitely not using a hard at all. Definitely not in qualifying, at least. It's funny because my go-to in the MotoGP games like MotoGP 20 was always a hard tyre at the circuit, but just because of how bad the hard tyre is these days, I'm just not using it. The auto drive leaves you very far away from the end of the track here as well, because we're going through turn 9, so we've got to do like the entire last sector, whereas usually you only have to do a little bit, as I'm absolutely all over the place. But I did that lap in free practice quite easily. I think it was my second lap, and my first lap was only a couple of attempts slower, so we are right on the money this weekend. It's not like Austria. I'm not having to scratch so much, although I am trying. It's just probably I'm a bit more comfortable at this track and can get down to the pace quite quickly. But here we go then. Let's see what we can do on this qualifying lap. So we've got Bagnaia ahead of us now on track. So that will probably be helpful. Another good fast marker to aim at. I know I've said it a million times, but this season is just so strange because the two fastest guys ready this season should be Bagnaia and Bezzecchi. It's been like that virtually since the beginning, but they just haven't performed. They've performed at individual races, but over the season, they're nowhere. I mean, Marc Marquez, he's the main AI, which is crazy, because he's had so many races where he's been nowhere. It's just he's had a good run of form as of late, basically since the Italian Grand Prix. He's had pretty decent finishes in all of them. So you can see we've closed quite a bit up to Bagnaia here. Hopefully he doesn't hold us up in this last sector of the track. Looks like he probably is going to. I'm glad I took the soft tyre choice as well so far because it has lasted this whole lap. Obviously only 2 more corners to go, but I don't really need the throttle until I actually get out of the last one, so I don't need to slide it through the corner, so I don't need the grip. So I probably have lost a little bit of time here behind Bagnaia because I couldn't quite take the lines I wanted to because I didn't want to crash into him. But up towards the line, we'll get a bit of slipstream then. What's it going to be? 38.5. Half a second quicker, well, 4 tenths quicker than anything that's been done this weekend. I think it's pretty safe to say they're not going to touch that one. Obviously, I will give them a chance, but I think that will be pole position. So it does seem this weekend we're back on the pace, and hopefully we can be back to winning ways. So then, at the end of the session, it was indeed good enough for pole position. 3 tenths clear of Francesco Bagnaia in second place. Very, very closely followed by Bezzecchi. And then also really close behind them, Brad Binder. So the 3 best AI actually have done the 3 best lap times now. So this session is probably the first one that's played out properly. You can see Vinales is also up there as well. Marini's up there. So it is the kind of AI that you would expect to see up the sharp end, a bit more up there. Although, I am a bit surprised by Bastianini. Let's have a look where he actually is. Down in 11th place. My teammate Alex Marquez down in 12th as well. So not ideal for those 2 riders. But everybody else, pretty much where you'd expect to see them. Fabio Quartararo, he'll be disappointed with 9th place at a track that should suit the Yamaha. But, you know what, he's pretty good at the circuits. I'm sure he will come through in the race. And you never know what could happen in the race. It could be ridiculous. But obviously my 2 main championship rivals are not in the top 12 in this race, so it's likely that they'll score little to no points. You don't know where they actually have qualified, but it does seem like they won't be scoring too many points. But we have got some fast riders up here. We've got Bagnaia, Bezzecchi, Binder, all 3 really on a run of form. I know Bagnaia has crashed, but Bagnaia's pace has been very good the last couple of races. Binder obviously just off a win. I know Bezzecchi also crashed in the last race, but again, he's had some good races as of late. So those 3 are definitely threats for the win here. They are obviously the fastest AI in the mod, so you would definitely expect that one. But without any further ado then, let's get into the race. I'm excited to see how this one pans out because we really do genuinely have the pace. The last 2 rounds I've really been struggling to keep up with AI, but here we genuinely have good pace if I can actually put it together. There's also probably going to be some tyre wear involved in this one, so I think it will be an interesting one, and we've obviously got to fight off 3 very aggressive AI. So we've been recommended on the commentary to use the hard rear. I have just been bitten by it too many times to trust it. I think I'm going to go medium. I don't think our soft strategy that we've been using in the last few races is going to particularly work at this circuit. It's too abrasive. It'll just wear the front tyre out too much and we'll just crash probably in the race. So the medium is the strategy I'm going with. The race will be fairly long, so you know what, the medium may also be on the limit, but I might have to look after it a bit at the end. Maybe I'll build out a lead and have to be able to defend it, but maybe not. Maybe we will drop through the pack. All I know is on the hard tyre we aren't going to have any sort of pace at all, so I'm definitely staying away from that one. But we do need to try and deliver here. We've not won for quite a while. We've actually only won 2 races this season, which as career modes go is quite poor because obviously we're only at the Catalan Grand Prix. Usually that wouldn't be too bad, but it's actually quite late in the season here. We're over halfway through and I've only picked up 2 race wins so far. But I think this could be our best chance for quite a while to return to winning ways, so I'm going to give it everything I've got and let's get it started.
The riders are ready for the start of the Catalan Grand Prix. The lights are on and as soon as they go out, it's going to get wild.
So then on pole position, we've got Bagnaia alongside us, Bezzecchi on the front row. So we've got to watch out for Bezzecchi, make sure it doesn't take us out 2 races in a row. But the lights are on here then, wait for them to go out. Lights out and away we go for the Catalan Grand Prix. We've had a pretty good launch off the line. Once again, Binder is already second place, so he's already gone from 4th to 2nd. Bezzecchi's now up to 3rd. Bagnaia's dropped all the way down to 6th. How he's done that on a run into turn 1 on a Ducati, I do not know. But we've got the whole shot then here, guys. Already 7 tenths of a second in the lead. You do gain a lot of time on the AI if you actually do have clear track. Bezzecchi's now just dropped down to 8th place, so I don't know what's happened at the first corner. There's definitely been a bit of chaos because Bezzecchi was 3rd going in there and has lost quite a few positions. Obviously Bagnaia lost a lot of positions on the run into turn 1 as well, so I don't know exactly what's happened behind with the AI. There's been a crash as well there, yellow flag. But it doesn't seem to be any of the top 8. Although shout out to Augusto Fernandez, you can see him in 8th place there. He's obviously made a pretty good start. Don't know where he qualified, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't in Q2, so it's a pretty phenomenal start from him. I've just seen the gap. We're literally 2 seconds in front already. It's ridiculous. Oh, you know what? I think this is how the Moto2 race played out as well, because I said I couldn't remember it early on, but now I'm thinking back to it. I do remember sort of being on an Ital Trans, managing a gap to, I think Joe Roberts, was it? Oh, I picked up a Challenger's warning, so I've got to watch out for that. Obviously only get 5 of those. If I'm getting a long lap penalty, that's putting me back behind Brad Binder with only a 2.6 second gap over him. Obviously, long lap penalties around 3 seconds. Zarco's now up to second place. So Zarco, off the back of a win at the British Grand Prix 2 rounds ago, overtakes last race winner Brad Binder. But I tell you what, the order has been shaken up a lot from the grid. Quartararo's up there in 5th place as well to make it 2 Frenchmen in the top 5. I do need to start focusing on the riding rather than looking at the graphics though, because I've lost quite a bit of time on this lap from mistakes. So we've got the gap back out to 3 seconds here at the end of lap 2. 39.2 on that lap, so pretty much that's a pretty decent qualifying time. In fact, I think that might have put me on the front row or just off it. So, actually no, it wouldn't have put me on the front row, would it? Because they did 38.9. So, I think it might have put me on the second row though. I think it might have been a second row time. Would have got me through to Q2 anyway. Just not too bad with mistakes and on mediums and in the race. Although generally you can do very close to qualifying laps in the race because the fuel makes very little difference. In terms of the weight of the bike, obviously the fuel mode does make quite a large difference, but the actual weight of the bike is identical. It doesn't feel any different. This really does highlight the main problem with the AI is just they're so inconsistent from track to track. Like here, they are getting gapped quite easily. Another challenge warning for me there, got to be careful. I've only picked up 2 I guess, but that's 2 in 3 laps, so with another 3 to go, that could be 4, and then another mistake would make it a long lap penalty. I don't want to be getting one of those, that's for sure. So here we are then, about to start the penultimate lap, a new fastest lap of the race, 39.0. Binder has retaken second position, so I was actually thinking that the pack had got rather sort of stagnant behind. There hadn't been many changes, but Binder very briefly retook second position there. Zarco is back up to second now. I just blew the first corner completely, so that's allowed them to close up quite a lot actually. But it does seem like it's a bit of a scrap for second behind us. Although everybody else seems pretty much the same places they've been in since turn 1. Basically, the biggest change was on the run into turn 1, and then in turn 1 itself, Bagnaia lost loads on the run into turn 1, and then Bezzecchi lost loads through turn 1, and Bagnaia gained a few back, but I suppose it's because the AI just cannot really overtake each other. They struggle a lot to do it. Tell you what, good thing the last lap is the next lap, because they have closed quite a bit up. Obviously, I know I've made a couple of mistakes on this lap, and again, I've been probably graphic watching too much to see what's happening behind, but they have gained a decent chunk of time. I think we should be okay. That's not the ideal line through turn 11 though either, so we definitely do need to watch out. Binder's dropped down to 4th now, so Marini's also got him, so it does seem like Binder's dropping. There is actually a pack of 4 of them behind us. I did get a little look on one of the straights. We've got 2.6 seconds then, started the final lap of the race. Provided we don't do anything catastrophically bad, we should have this one in the bag and be back to the top step of the podium. So crash behind. Doesn't seem to be anybody in the top 8 though, so somebody outside, so it could be one of my championship rivals, because I mean they're all gone, they're all outside the top 8, so we are going to get a big haul of points on them regardless of what happens. But I tell you what, I need to be watching the track again rather than the graphics, because Zarco has got the gap under 2 seconds very briefly. It's back over 2 seconds again now, but it did get down to 1.9 very briefly there. So here we are then, going into the last corner. We are going to win the Catalan Grand Prix in a dominant fashion. Back to the top step for the first time in quite a while. I tell you what, I actually can't even remember the last time I won a race. I'm trying to think which race it was. That was the Italian Grand Prix Mugello, of course it was, which again was in dominant fashion. So yeah, it seems to be that is my way to win, is to sort of get to the front early on and build out a gap on the first couple of laps. But you can see we won 2.3 seconds then ahead of Joan Zarco in second place. Luca Marini actually ended up in third. In the last couple of corners, him and Binder were swapping positions a few times, but Marini actually managed to get it, because last time I looked, it was Binder back ahead, so it definitely changed a few times in the last few corners. Obviously Binder then, of course, in 4th place. Fabio Quartararo ends up in 5th. Bagnaia 6th. Augusto Fernandez managed to get Oliveira there for 7th. Oliveira himself, of course, in 8th place. And Nakagami rounds out the top 9. So let's have a look to see where Marquez and Miller finished. Bezzecchi ended up in 10th place, so that was quite a poor race for him. Vinales as well, he qualified about 5th, so he dropped down the order quite a lot. Marquez then finishes in 13th place, so picks up, 3 points with that. Bastianini in 14th picks up 2. Alex Marquez, my teammate, in 15th, only picks up 1 point. So Jack Miller, down in 17th place, has once again not scored in this career mode. It does just show how close the AI are, because sometimes you'll get them literally fighting for the win. Like Marquez was P3, or he might have ended up P4 in the end in Austria. But either way, he was battling for the podium. It's 13th to this race. Morbidelli, the guy he was battling with in that race, ends up 16th. So it just shows you it really does change quite a lot from race to race. So in the championship then, there is quite a bit of change. You can see Zarco actually has benefited from it. So of course, a good run of races really does help you out in this championship. It does seem to be how it's working. Obviously that happened with Marc Marquez as well. He had a good run of form, a few races where he's performed quite well, got a couple of podiums, and he's second in the championship all of a sudden. But Zarco has seemingly done the same thing, back up to third in the championship. But that means our lead has gone up to 39 points ahead of Marc Marquez in second position. Now Zarco, of course, in third is 48 points behind. Jack Miller moves down to fourth, 53 points behind. Bastianini moves down to fifth, 55 points behind. Tied with Brad Binder, actually, who moves down to sixth place. We've got Marco Bezzecchi in seventh position. And Quartararo actually goes back up a spot in the championship after dropping a few in the last episode. And then Marini now moves back up into the top 10 into ninth place. So in the Teams Championship then, we've extended our lead to 20 points. Obviously it was down to 7 if I'm not mistaken in the last round, but of course I gained a decent amount of points by winning the race. Alex Marquez also brought home a point for us in the Championship, whereas Miller didn't bring home any, and obviously we outscored Binder, so we did pull away from them. Primo Pramac still there in third place, but they close up once again with another good result from Zarco, but Martin outside the points, so letting the side down a little bit there. Munivel 46 actually moved back ahead of the Catalunya, but once again, it is super close. Obviously only 13 points separating KTM and Prima Pramac, 33 separating us all, and you can get a swing of 45, so Munivel 46 Racing could be leading the Teams Championship by the end of the next episode if they miraculously get a 1-2 and nobody else scores in the other teams. It's definitely possible. It's not very likely, but it is possible, so it just shows you how close this Teams Championship is. Finally, onto the Constructors' Championship then, you can see we're now leading by 103 points, so Ducati another race win, and it is just getting bigger and bigger, that lead. KTM are now really starting to stretch on Honda a bit now as well. Honda did sort of close them down for a couple of episodes when Marquez was doing quite well, but it does seem like they are just pulling away again now. So KTM in a pretty secure second place now with 44 points over Honda. But the guys behind, pretty close, only 20 points separating Honda to Aprilia, so they are pretty close. Like I say, behind the top positions, it is really close in every single championship in this career mode. But with this race done now then, we'll head back to the career hub, see what we get from this weekend, and then we can end off the episode. So we gain 10,600 reputation from that weekend, which takes us up to 305,400 reputation. As for the credits, we gain 30,280, which takes us up to 839,268. So here we are then, back in the career hub. We don't have to advance forward because we're straight onto the San Marino Grand Prix in the next episode. No notifications either, except from the glitch one from Suzuki being interested in us. So that pretty much brings this episode to a close. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that one. I do apologise that the race was a bit more dull, but I can't really control the AI. If they're bad at one track, they're just bad at it, and I'm going to pull away, and there's not much I can do about it. Now, I know they are going to be poor at San Marino as well. I know I've had that conception going into a few weekends, but I'm sure they are going to be really bad at San Marino. So I'm not sure I'm going to play it. I might do a test race in quick mode to see how fast the MotoGP AI actually are at this track. And if they are ridiculously slow, I may do a last to first, because otherwise you're not going to see anything all race. It's going to be absolutely nothing, and I'll easily get pole as well if they're as slow as I think they're going to be. But I did think I was going to dominate in Le Mans, and I didn't even win that race. So you know, the weekend can pan out a little bit strangely, but I guess we'll have to see when we get into this one. So I do apologise, like I said, that it's not been the most interesting episode, but you do just get that sometimes, and it's not really my fault. It's Milestone's fault for making AI so inconsistent from track to track. But I hope you did enjoy that one regardless. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.